The forest crackled with the menacing sound of flames, smoke filling the air as a mother dog desperately tried to guide her tiny puppies to safety just when all hope seemed lost. An unexpected twist changed everything. The forest was a serene haven home to countless creatures, including Bella, a devoted golden retriever who had recently given birth to a litter of 5 adorable puppies hidden beneath the roots of an ancient oak tree. Bella's den was a warm sanctuary, where she lovingly cared for her babies, ensuring they were safe from predators and harsh weather. But the peaceful life of the forest was shattered on a fateful summer evening. A stray spark from a nearby campfire ignited the dry underbrush and the flames spread quickly. Birds took flight. Deer darted through the woods, and Bella's ears perked up as the sound of distant crackling reached her sensitive hearing. Her instincts told her something was terribly wrong. Bella peeked out of her den, her heart pounding as she caught sight of the distant orange glow. She could smell the acrid scent of smoke growing stronger. The fire was moving fast, consuming everything in its path, and it was heading straight for them. The puppies, barely a few weeks old, whimpered softly. As Bella returned to the den, their tiny eyes, not yet fully opened, searched for their mother's comforting presence. Bella nudged each one, her instincts screaming at her to act. She had no choice but to move them, and quickly. But how could she carry all 5 of them to safety in time? One by one, Bella picked up her puppies, carefully cradling them in her mouth as she ventured out into the smoky forest. The heat was oppressive, and her fur became matted with sweat and ash. She placed the first puppy in a hollowed-out log a safe distance away and rushed back to retrieve the next time was running out. The fire was getting closer, and the smoke was making it harder for her to navigate. Bella's determination never wavered, but exhaustion was setting in as she carried the 4th puppy to the log. A fiery branch crashed to the ground behind her, blocking the path back to the den. Bella froze, her heart racing. One puppy was still in the den, trapped behind the flames. Bella stood frozen, her eyes locked on the wall of fire that now separated her from her last helpless puppy. The heat was unbearable, singing her fur as the acrid smoke stung her eyes, but nothing mattered more than getting to her baby with a deep breath. Bella summoned every ounce of courage she had and dashed toward the flames. Her paws danced across the hot ground, dodging falling embers as she reached the entrance of the den. The puppy's faint cries guided her through the thick smoke. She found him trembling at the back of the den, his tiny body pressed against the cool earth. Bella nudged him gently, reassuring him with a soft whimper. Despite her exhaustion, she picked him up carefully and turned to face the fiery barrier. Once more, the way back was even more treacherous. The flames were high now, the roaring inferno blocking her view of the log where the other puppies waited with her baby clutched tightly in her mouth. Bella made a desperate leap through the flames. Her paws landed on scorching ground, and she stumbled, but she didn't stop. Every step was a battle against the heat, her lungs burning from the smoke, but she pressed on. Finally, she broke through the fiery barrier, collapsing onto the cooler ground beyond. The last puppy was safe, but Bella's strength was fading. Her body ached from the ordeal and her vision blurred. She had saved her babies, but the fire was closing in around them, and she had no energy left to continue. The puppies, sensing their mother's distress, huddled close to her, their tiny bodies providing a comforting warmth. Bella raised her head weakly, scanning the smoky horizon for a way out. The fire's relentless advance left little hope. She let out a mournful howl, a call for help that echoed through the chaos. Meanwhile, not far from the forest, a firefighter named Emily was patrolling the area with her team. The raging wildfire had become too dangerous to contain, and the team was conducting final sweeps to ensure no one was left behind. As Emily drove through the smoky landscape, she thought she heard something. A faint, desperate howl carried on the windstop. The truck. Emily shouted. Her team exchanged skeptical glances, but complied. Emily leaped out, her trained ears guiding her toward the sound. "There's something out there," she insisted, grabbing a flashlight and a blanket as she disappeared into the smoky forest. Hailey moved quickly through the smoke-filled forest, her flashlight cutting through the dense haze. The sound of Bella's mournful howl grew louder, guiding her deeper into the inferno. Each step felt precarious, with embers falling from above and ash swirling around her boots despite the chaos. Emily was determined to find the source of the cry. Suddenly, her light landed on a heart-wrenching sight, a golden retriever lying on the scorched ground. Her body curled protectively around a group of tiny, trembling puppies. Bella's fur was singed, and her breaths came in shallow gasps, but her eyes still burned with determination. Emily's heart clenched at the sight of such devotion in the face of impossible odds. Hang on, girl, Emily murmured, kneeling beside Bella. She quickly assessed the situation. The puppies were unharmed, though weak from the smoke and heat. Bella, however, was in rough shape. Emily knew she had to act fast. "I've got you," she said gently. Wrapping Bella in the blanket she'd brought, the puppies yipped softly, as if sensing hope. For the first time, Emily carefully placed them in her jacket, creating a makeshift pouch to keep them secure. "We're getting out of here." As Emily turned to make her way back, a crackling sound erupted behind her. She whipped around to see a tree leaning precariously, its trunk weakened by the flames. Before she could react, the massive tree came crashing down, blocking her path back to the truck. Emily's heart pounded. She was trapped with Bella and the puppies, and the fire was closing in back at the truck. Emily's team grew anxious. She should have been back by now. One firefighter said, scanning the smoke-filled forest. Another shook his head. "This area is too unstable. We can't wait much longer." But just as they debated their next move, a faint arc carried through the haze. The team froze. It wasn't Emily, but a dog. They exchanged uncertain glances before one of them grabbed a radio. "We need backup and a search team," he said into the receiver. "We've got a firefighter and what sounds like a trapped animal in here inside the forest." Emily's training kicked in. She knew panicking wouldn't help. Instead, she scanned her surroundings, searching for another way out. Her eyes landed on a narrow creek bed that seemed to lead downhill away from the flames. It wasn't ideal, but it was her only option. "All right, girl," Emily whispered to Bella, who looked up at her with trusting eyes. "We're going this way. Stay with me." With Bella cradled in her arms and the puppies nestled against her chest, Emily carefully descended into the creek bed. The rocky terrain was slippery and uneven, but the steep walls provided some shelter from the advancing flames. Step by step, Emily made her way forward. Her resolve unwavering. The team outside the forest received backup, including a specialized K-9 unit trained for search and rescue. A black Labrador named Scout led the way, his nose to the ground as he picked up Emily's scent. The firefighters followed closely, their hope renewed by the dog's confident movements. As Emily pushed forward, the creek bed widened into a small clearing. She paused, her muscles burning from the effort. Bella let out a soft whimper, and Emily gently stroked her head. "And just a little farther," she said, though exhaustion was beginning to creep into her voice. Suddenly, she heard rustling ahead. Emily tensed, unsure of what was approaching her. Flashlight flickered across the clearing, revealing Scout bounding toward her, his tail wagging furiously. Relief washed over Emily as the rest of the rescue team emerged from the smoke behind him. "We've got you, Emily," one of the firefighters called out. They quickly surrounded her, taking Bella and the puppies into their care. Emily finally allowed herself to collapse onto the ground, her body trembling from adrenaline and exhaustion. As Emily sat on the ground trying to catch her breath, the rescue team sprang into action. One of the firefighters, a seasoned paramedic named Jake, knelt beside her. "Emily, are you hurt?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos surrounding them. "I'm fine," she said, her voice hoarse from the smoke, just worried about Bella and the puppies. Jake gave her a reassuring nod. "We've got them," he said, motioning to another firefighter who gently carried Bella on a stretcher. The puppies, still huddled together in the makeshift pouch of Emily's jacket, were carefully transferred to a blanket-lined basket. They whimpered softly, but seemed unharmed. Bella, however, was in worse shape. Her singed fur and labored breathing told a story of relentless courage. She had endured the fire's wrath to protect her babies, and now her strength was fading. Emily's heart twisted as she watched the golden retriever's chest rise and fall. The team quickly coordinated an exit plan. "The creek bed is the safest route back. The captain said it'll shield us from the worst of the fire." Emily insisted on walking despite her exhaustion. "I need to be with Bella," she said firmly. Jake hesitated, but eventually relented, knowing better than to argue with her as they made their way through the creek bed. Emily stayed close to Bella, whispering words of encouragement. "You're so brave," she murmured. "We're going to get you and your babies to safety, just hang in there." Scout the black Labrador who had found Emily trotted alongside them. His presence a calming force. He occasionally nudged Bella's side as if urging her to keep going. The journey back to the truck was tense. Smoke thickened in the air, and the crackling of flames grew louder with each passing minute. The team moved as quickly as they could, but the weight of their mission was palpable. They weren't just saving a firefighter. They were saving a family when they finally reached the truck. A wave of relief washed over the group. Medics were already on standby, ready to treat both Emily and the animals. Bella was placed on a stretcher, and the medics immediately began administering oxygen to help her breathe. The puppies were carefully examined, their tiny bodies wriggling as they protested the attention. Emily stood nearby, her eyes never leaving Bella. The golden retriever's eyes fluttered open, and she looked up at Emily with a tired but grateful expression. "You're safe now," Emily said softly, tears streaming down her soot-streaked face. "You did it back at the fire station." Word of the dramatic rescue spread quickly. Emily's colleagues were waiting to greet her, their faces a mix of relief and admiration. "You're incredible," one of them said, clapping her on the shoulder. "Risking everything for those dogs, it's just who you are." Emily smiled faintly, though her thoughts were still with Bella. "She's the real hero." She said what she did for her puppies. "I've never seen anything like it." That night, Bella and her puppies were taken to a nearby animal hospital for further treatment. Emily couldn't bring herself to leave, so she camped out in the waiting room, her exhaustion forgotten in the face of worry. The vet, a kind woman named Dr. Harper, eventually emerged with an update. "Bella's stable." Dr. Harper said, her voice kind. "She has some burns and smoke inhalation, but with care she'll recover. The puppies are in good health thanks to her protection." Emily let out a shaky breath, the weight on her chest finally lifting. "Thank you," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I can't imagine losing them." Dr. Harper smiled. "You're part of the reason they made it out. Bella's strong, but so are you." In the days that followed, Bella and her puppies became local celebrities. News outlets picked up the story, praising Emily's bravery, and Bella's unwavering devotion. Donations poured in to cover the cost of the dog's medical care, and people from all over sent messages of support. But for Emily, the experience went beyond heroism. It was a reminder of the unbreakable bond between humans and animals, a bond forged in trust, love, and sacrifice. Sitting by Bella's side as the golden retriever recovered, Emily felt a profound sense of connection to the dog who had taught her the true meaning of courage. As Bella and her puppies began their recovery, Emily couldn't help but feel a deep connection with the golden retriever. Spending her off-duty hours at the animal hospital, she watched as Bella regained her strength. Little by little, her puppies growing more playful with each passing day. One morning, Dr. Harper approached Emily with a furrowed brow. "There's something we need to discuss," she said. "Bella's recovery is going well, but she has severe burns on her back legs. She may never regain full mobility." The news hit Emily like a punch to the stomach. "But she'll still have a good quality of life, right?" she asked, her voice trembling. Dr. Harper hesitated. "With the right care, absolutely. But it's going to take time, therapy, and patience. Not every family is equipped to handle that." Emily's chest tightened. The thought of Bella being separated from her puppies or sent to a shelter was unbearable. "She deserves better than that," she said firmly. The community that had rallied around Bella's story began to organize fundraisers to support her care. Local businesses donated supplies, and a charity event was planned to highlight animal rescue efforts. Emily was touched by the outpouring of support, but her concern for Bella's future lingered. Meanwhile, the puppies became the tour of the town. Families lined up at the animal hospital, eager to adopt the adorable bundles of fur. Dr. Harper carefully vetted each potential adopter, determined to find the best homes for them. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that separating the puppies from Bella especially so soon after their ordeal might be too much for the golden retriever to bear, as if the situation wasn't complicated enough. Another wrinkle emerged. A man named Mark arrived at the hospital claiming to be Bella's original owner, tall and well-dressed. Mark explained that Bella had gone missing from his property weeks before the fire. "I've been searching everywhere for her," he said, his tone earnest. "I had no idea she'd been through so much." Emily felt a wave of unease. Something about Mark's story didn't sit right with her. "Bella's been through hell to protect her puppies," she said, her voice firm. "Are you saying she belongs to you?" Mark nodded. "I've had her since she was a puppy, but she ran off one day and I couldn't find her. I never even knew she was pregnant." Emily glanced at Bella, who lay on her side in the recovery room, her eyes tracking Emily's every move. "Do you have proof?" Emily asked. "A photo? Medical records?" Mark hesitated, then pulled out his phone. He showed Emily a photo of a golden retriever that bore a striking resemblance to Bella. "That's her," he said. "I can bring the paperwork if you need it." Unsure of what to believe, Emily turned to Dr. Harper for advice. "What if he's telling the truth?" Emily asked. "But what if Hune's not? Bella deserves a home where she'll be loved and cared for." Dr. Harper sighed. "We'll need to verify his claim if he's her legal owner. We may not have a choice. But if there's any doubt, we'll do what's best for Bella." Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Mark. She decided to do some digging, reaching out to a friend who worked at the local animal control office. She asked for help looking into Mark's background. What she discovered only deepened her suspicions. Mark had a record of neglect complaints from neighbors who claimed he left his dogs outside in extreme weather without proper care. One case had even resulted in a fine, though it seemed to have been swept under the rug. Armed with this information, Emily confronted Mark the next time he came to the hospital. "You say Bella's your dog," she said, her tone sharp, "but it doesn't sound like you've been a responsible owner." Mark's expression darkened. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. "I spoke to animal control." Emily replied, "If Bella was neglected, she deserves better than to go back to that." Mark scoffed, "You don't know anything about me." Dr. Harper stepped in, her voice calm but firm. "We'll need to verify your ownership claim through legal channels. Until then, Bella stays here." Mark stormed out, muttering under his breath. But Emily felt a sense of relief. She wouldn't let Bella or her puppies be put at risk. As the adoption process for the puppies moved forward, Emily found herself struggling with an unexpected emotion attachment each time she visited the hospital. Bella greeted her with a wagging tail and soft eyes, and the puppies followed her every step, their tiny barks filling the room with warmth. One evening, as she sat with Bella and the puppies, Emily realized she didn't want to say goodbye. "Maybe you're supposed to stay with me," she whispered, stroking Bella's fur. "Maybe we're supposed to be a family." But the road ahead was far from clear. Mark's claim, though questionable, had to be addressed legally, and even if Emily could adopt Bella, she'd need to prepare for the challenges of caring for an injured dog and her energetic puppies. As Emily wrestled with these decisions, the community's support continued to buoy her spirits. Neighbors offered help with supplies, local veterinarians volunteered their services, and messages of encouragement poured in from near and far. Yet beneath the surface, Emily knew the hardest part was still to come. Could she truly provide the life Bella and her puppies deserved? And what would happen if Mark refused to let go? As the days passed, Emily found herself deeply entwined in Bella's story, her connection with the golden retriever, and her puppies growing stronger by the moment. Bella's injuries, though improving, served as a constant reminder of her bravery and the trials she had endured to protect her family. Emily felt a mix of awe and sorrow every time she looked into Bella's expressive eyes. At the same time, the situation with Mark began to escalate. He returned to the animal hospital, this time with a lawyer. "I'm here to claim my dog," he announced, his voice cold and commanding. Dr. Harper met him in the reception area, Emily standing by her side. "We've reviewed your claim," Dr. Harper said evenly, "but we have concerns about Bella's welfare under your care. Her injuries suggest prolonged neglect, and her well-being is our priority." Mark's lawyer stepped forward. My client has provided evidence that he is Bella's rightful owner. He has the legal right to take her home. Emily clenched her fists, her heart pounding. Bella isn't just a possession, she said, her voice trembling with anger. She's a living, breathing soul who deserves love and care. Can you honestly say you've provided that for her? Mark glared at Emily. You have no idea what I've been through, he snapped. Bella ran away because someone left the gate open. I've been looking for her ever since the tension in the room was palpable. Dr. Harper, ever the mediator, raised a hand. This is a complex situation. We're willing to work with you to ensure Bella's best interests are met. But until the legal process is resolved, she'll remain in our care. Mark stormed out, his lawyer trailing behind him. Emily exhaled sharply, her hands shaking. What if he wins? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Harper placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We do everything we can to fight for Bella. But Emily, you need to prepare yourself for any outcome. Miley couldn't stop thinking about Bella that evening. The idea of her going back to a life of neglect was unbearable. She decided to channel her worry into action, rallying the community to support Bella. She posted Bella's story on social media, emphasizing her courage and resilience, and the response was overwhelming. Hundreds of people shared the post, many leaving comments expressing their support. I'll help however I can. One woman wrote, Bella deserves a safe and loving home. Thank you for fighting for her. Another added, she's lucky to have you. Meanwhile, Emily's bond with Bella and the puppies deepened. She spent hours at the hospital helping with their care and playing with the rambunctious pups. Bella's trust in Emily grew with each visit, her tail wagging eagerly whenever Emily entered the room one evening. As Emily sat on the floor surrounded by puppies, she looked into Bella's eyes and made a decision. I'll fight for you, she said softly. No matter what it takes, but the road ahead was fraught with challenges. Mark's legal claim loomed over everything, and Emily knew she needed more than community support to win. She began researching animal welfare laws, reaching out to experts and advocates for advice. One contact, a passionate attorney named Rachel, offered to take on the case pro bono. I believe in what you're doing, Rachel said during their first meeting, and I believe Bella deserves a better life together. They built a case highlighting Bella's injuries, her bond with Emily, and Mark's history of neglect. They also gathered testimony from neighbors who had witnessed Bella's previous living conditions as the legal battle unfolded. Emily faced another emotional dilemma. The adoption process for the puppies' families eagerly awaited the chance to take them home, but Emily struggled with the idea of separating them from Bella. She voiced her concerns to Dr. Harper one evening. Is it too soon to let them go? She asked. I don't want Bella to feel like she's losing them. Dr. Harper nodded thoughtfully. It's a delicate balance, she said. The puppies are thriving, but Bella's emotional recovery is just as important. We can stagger the adoptions to give her time to adjust. Emily agreed, though the thought of saying goodbye to the puppies tugged at her heart. She resolved to personally vet each adopter, ensuring they understood the gravity of Bella's journey and the importance of giving her puppies a loving home. As the first puppy, a spirited little boy named Finn, prepared to leave with his new family, Emily couldn't hold back her tears. You're going to have a wonderful life, she whispered, hugging him tightly before placing him in his new owner's arms. Bella watched from her recovery bed, her eyes tracking Finn as he left the room. Emily sat beside her, gently stroking her fur. He's going to be okay, she said. And so are you. But the weight of the situation continued to bear down on Emily. Each night, she lay awake replaying the events of the day and worrying about what the future held for Bella. The stress was taking its toll, but she refused to give up. One evening as she sat in the hospital's quiet lobby, Rachel called with an update. I found a witness, she said, a neighbor who saw Mark mistreat Bella before she ran away. This could be the turning point. Emily felt a flicker of hope. Thank you, Rachel, she said, her voice breaking. I don't know what I'd do without you. You're doing the hard part, Rachel replied. You're giving Bella a chance. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation and emotional moments. Rachel's discovery of the neighbor Mrs. Callahan offered a glimmer of hope in the legal battle. Emily couldn't help but feel a surge of optimism when she met the elderly woman whose kind eyes and determined demeanor suggested she was ready to stand up for Bella. "I've lived next door to Mark for years," Mrs. Callahan explained as she sipped her tea. "I've seen things I wish I hadn't. Bella was just a puppy herself when he got her, but he never treated her like family." Emily listened intently as Mrs. Callahan recounted the neglect she had witnessed Bella being left outside in freezing temperatures, her cries ignored, and the lack of proper food or care when she disappeared. "I prayed she'd found a better life," Mrs. Callahan said, her voice breaking. "Now I know she has Rachel recorded the testimony, promising to use it as a cornerstone of their case." Emily left Mrs. Callahan's house with a renewed sense of determination. Bella had endured so much, she deserved justice. Meanwhile, the tension between Emily and Mark continued to escalate. Mark, aware of the growing public support for Bella, began spreading his own narrative, painting himself as a misunderstood pet owner who had been unfairly vilified at the local coffee shop. Emily overheard a heated conversation between two patrons. "I heard Mark been trying to get his dog back for months." One said maybe the hospital's overstepping. Emily's chest tightened. She realized that Mark's efforts to sway public opinion were working, at least for some. Determined to counter his narrative, she shared more of Bella's story on social media, including updates on her recovery and the puppy's progress. The post quickly gained traction, with comments flooding in. "Bella's bravery is incredible. Keep fighting, for her neglect is never acceptable. She deserves a loving home." Emily felt a wave of gratitude for the community's support, but she knew it wouldn't be enough to sway a courtroom as the first court date approached. Rachel worked tirelessly to prepare. "We need to show not only that Bella was neglected," she explained during a late-night strategy session, "but that she's found a safe, loving environment with you." Emily hesitated. "Do you think they'll ask me if I want to adopt her?" she asked, her voice uncertain. Rachel looked at her thoughtfully. "Would you?" Emily's heart raced. She hadn't allowed herself to fully consider the possibility her bond with Bella was undeniable, but the idea of taking on such a commitment felt overwhelming. "I want what's best for her," she said finally. "If that means staying with me, then yes." The court hearing arrived on a stormy morning, mirroring Emily's internal turmoil. Mark arrived with his lawyer, his expressions smug. Emily, flanked by Rachel and M. Callahan, walked into the courtroom with Bella's story etched into her heart. Rachel began by presenting evidence of Bella's injuries and neglect. So supported by veterinary records and photos, she then introduced Mrs. Callahan, whose testimony painted a vivid picture of Bella's life. Before she escaped, the elderly woman spoke with quiet conviction, her words cutting through the courtroom's tension. When it was Mark's turn to speak, he painted a picture of himself as a loving owner who had been unfairly judged. "Bella ran away because someone left the gate open," he said, his voice dripping with feigned sincerity. "I've been looking for her ever since. She's my dog." Rachel countered with a calm but powerful argument. "Your Honor, this case isn't about ownership. It's about Bella's well-being. She's found safety and love, something she lacked before." As the judge deliberated, Emily sat in the gallery, her hands clenched tightly. Bella, resting at her feet, seemed calm, as if sensing Emily's need for reassurance after what felt like an eternity. The judge spoke. "This court acknowledges the complexities of this case," she began. "While Mr. Hartwell has provided proof of ownership, the evidence of neglect cannot be ignored. Bella's welfare must take precedence." Emily held her breath. "I am granting temporary custody of Bella to the animal hospital, while further investigations are conducted." The judge continued in the meantime. "No changes to her current living arrangements are permitted." The decision was bittersweet. Bella wouldn't return to Marker, but her future remained uncertain outside the courthouse. Emily thanked Rachel and Mrs. Callahan, her voice thick with emotion. "This is just the beginning," Rachel said, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Keep fighting." That evening, as Emily sat with Bella and her puppies, she felt a mixture of relief and exhaustion. Bella rested her head on Emily's lap, her warm eyes conveying gratitude and trust you're safe. Emily whispered, stroking her fur. We'll get through this together. The days ahead promised new challenges. But Emily was ready. Bella had fought to save her puppies. Now it was Emily's turn to fight for Bella. The days following the court's decision were a mix of small victories and looming uncertainties. Bella remained in the care of the animal hospital where her progress continued to inspire everyone who met her. Her puppies were thriving, each one displaying a unique personality. Emily, however, couldn't shake the feeling that battle was far from over. Mark's presence lingered like a shadow over Emily's every move. Despite the court ruling, he began showing up outside the hospital, his confrontational demeanor unnerving the staff. Emily often spotted him pacing in the parking lot, glaring through the windows as if to remind her that he wasn't giving up one afternoon as Emily arrived for her shift. Mark approached her. "You're making a mistake," he said, his tone low and menacing. "Bella belongs to me. This isn't over." Emily squared her shoulders, meeting his glare with determination. "Bella deserves better than what you gave her," she replied firmly. "I won't stop fighting for her." Mark scoffed but didn't respond as he walked away. Emily felt a knot of fear in her stomach. She knew he wasn't bluffing at the same time. A new challenge emerged within the hospital itself. The time had come to start rehoming the puppies, a task that filled Emily with both excitement and dread. She wanted to ensure that each one found a loving forever home. But the thought of separating them from Bella tugged at her heart. To ease the transition, Emily organized a community event at the hospital, a meet and greet for potential adopters to interact with the puppies. The turnout was overwhelming. Families and individuals eagerly lined up to meet the adorable little bundles of fur. One by one, the puppies won over their future owners, a playful female named Luna Charmed, a young couple, while a curious little boy named Max bonded instantly with an older gentleman who had recently lost his dog. Emily watched each interaction closely, her heart lifting as she saw the joy the puppies brought to their new families. But one puppy, the run of the litter named Scout, struggled to connect with anyone timid and shy. He clung to Bella's side, his small frame trembling whenever someone approached. Emily felt a pang of protectiveness for him. "Maybe Scout isn't ready yet," Dr. Harper suggested as they observed from a distance he might need a little more time. Emily nodded. "He's special," she said softly. "I'll make sure he finds the right home," as the puppies began leaving for their new homes. Bella's demeanor shifted. She became quieter, her eyes often fixed on the doors through which her pups had been carried out. Emily spent extra time with her, offering comfort and reassurance. One evening, as Emily sat beside Bella Scout nestled in her lap, she felt a deep sense of responsibility. "I wish I could promise you everything will be okay," she murmured. "But I can promise you this: I won't let you go through this alone." Meanwhile, Rachel continued to build their case against Mark. She dug deeper into his history, uncovering troubling patterns of neglect with previous pets. One particularly damning piece of evidence came from a former neighbor who recalled seeing Mark abandon a dog years earlier. This could be a game changer. Rachel told Emily during one of their late-night meetings, "It proves a pattern of behavior. The judge will have to take this seriously." Despite the mounting evidence, Mark's determination to regain custody of Bella remained steadfast. He filed an appeal claiming that his previous actions were irrelevant and that he had the right to reclaim his dog. The prospect of another court battle loomed large, but Emily refused to back down as the legal fight continued. Emily found solace in her growing bond with Bella and Scout. The little puppy's timid nature began to fade as he spent more time with Emily. His trust in her blossoming Bella, too, seemed to draw strength from Emily's unwavering presence one evening. As Emily played with Scout in the hospital yard, an idea began to take shape in her mind. What if Scout stayed with her permanently? The thought both excited and terrified her. She wasn't sure if she was ready for such a commitment, but the connection she felt with him was undeniable. The next day, Emily shared her thoughts with Dr. Harper. "I think I might want to adopt Scout," she said, her voice hesitant but hopeful. "I can't imagine him being anywhere else." Dr. Harper smiled warmly. I think that's a wonderful idea. She said you've already given him so much love, it's clear he feels safe with you. Emily felt a rush of relief and joy. What about Bella? She asked. Do you think she'll be okay with this? She's already bonded with you, Dr. Harper replied. If anything, I think it'll bring her comfort to know. Scout is staying close as Emily prepared to adopt Scout. She also began to consider Bella's future. The idea of Bella going to another home filled her with anxiety. She couldn't shake the feeling that Bella belonged with her too. One evening, as Emily sat with Bella and Scout, she made a silent vow. I'll fight for both of you, she whispered, no matter what it takes. The looming appeal filed by Mark sent ripples of tension through Emily's otherwise steady resolve, though she continued to care for Bella and Scout. The weight of the legal battle grew heavier by the day. Mark's tactics became more aggressive. He not only challenged her directly in court, but began planting seeds of doubt within the community. Flyers appeared in local cafes and community centers accusing the hospital staff of stealing Bella from her rightful owner. Mark even circulated a petition demanding the hospital release, Bella claiming she was being kept against her will, though the petition gained little traction. The act itself felt like a personal attack on everything Emily had worked for. At the same time, Mark's appeal moved forward at a troubling pace. Rachel worked tirelessly to gather additional evidence, but the process was slow. We have the truth on our side, Rachel assured Emily during one of their strategy meetings, but Mark's persistence is a problem. He's banking on wearing us down. Emily nodded, though her expression remained determined. He can try, but I'm not giving up. Bella observes better as the legal fight escalated. Bella's progress reached a turning point with her puppies rehomed. She began to regain her confidence. Her playful side re-emerged, and she took joy in simple moments, chasing a ball, rolling in the grass, or curling up next to Emily during quiet evenings. Scout, too, blossomed under Emily's care, becoming more adventurous and independent one evening. As Emily walked Bella and Scout through a nearby park, she noticed something unusual. A young boy approached them cautiously, his eyes wide with wonder. Is that Bella? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emily paused, startled. Yes, this is Bella? Do you know her? The boy nodded, tears welling in his eyes. I used to see her at the house next to mine. She looked so sad all the time. I wanted to help her, but my mom said it wasn't our business. Emily crouched to meet his gaze. You did nothing wrong, she said gently. But Bella is safe now. She's happy and loved. The boy smiled through his tears. I'm glad she deserves it. As the boy ran back to his mother, Emily felt a surge of vindication. Bella's story wasn't just about her suffering. It was about the resilience that allowed her to find joy again back at the hospital. A new challenge emerged. Bella developed a limp, prompting Emily and Dr. Harper to conduct a series of tests. The result revealed lingering damage to Bella's hind leg from her time in the fire. Though the injury wasn't life-threatening, it required surgery to prevent long-term complications. The news weighed heavily on Emily. She's been through so much already, she said, her voice thick with emotion. Now this Dr. Harper placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Bella is strong and she has you. We'll get through this together. Emily resolved to focus on Bella's recovery, even as the court date for the appeal drew closer. She launched a fundraising campaign to cover the cost of Bella's surgery. Sharing her story on social media, the response was overwhelming. Donations poured in, along with messages of support from people moved by Bella's resilience. Mark, however, saw the campaign as an opportunity to strike back. He accused Emily of exploiting Bella for personal gain, claiming that the fundraiser was a scam. Though his accusations were baseless, they created enough noise to attract unwanted attention one evening. As Emily left the hospital, she found Mark waiting in the parking lot. This ends now, he said, his tone cold and threatening. You think you can use Bella to make a name for yourself? You're no better than me. Emily stood her ground. This isn't about me, she said firmly. It's about Bella, and I'll do whatever it takes to protect her. Mark's expression darkened, but he said nothing further as he walked away. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. She knew the confrontation wasn't over. The turning point came during a pivotal court hearing. Rachel presented the evidence they had painstakingly gathered, including testimony from the young boy who had seen Bella's suffering and statements from veterinarians about her injuries. Mark countered with his usual bluster, but his arguments began to unravel under scrutiny. As the judge reviewed the evidence, a moment of tension gripped the courtroom. Behair, who had been brought in as part of the proceedings, lay calmly at Emily's feet, her trusting gaze a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding her. Finally, the judge spoke. The evidence overwhelmingly supports that Bella was subjected to neglect and abuse while in the care of Mr. Mark Hamilton. Furthermore, her current caregivers have demonstrated exceptional commitment to her well-being. The appeal is denied. The courtroom erupted in whispers, but Emily only had eyes for Bella. She knelt beside her, tears streaming down her face. "We did it, girl," she whispered. "You're safe, though." The ruling was a monumental victory. Emily knew it was just the beginning. Bella's surgery was scheduled for the following week, and Emily wanted to ensure she had the best chance at a full recovery. At the same time, she began to consider the possibility of adopting Bella and Scout permanently, a decision that filled her with both hope and trepidation as the hospital staff celebrated the court victory. Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. Bella's journey was far from over, but for the first time, the path ahead felt clear. The week leading up to Bella's surgery was a whirlwind of preparation, emotion, and quiet determination. Emily spent every possible moment with Bella and Scout, ensuring they felt safe and loved. The hospital staff, now deeply invested in Bella's journey, pitched in to help, from organizing supplies to providing moral support. Their camaraderie buoyed Emily's spirits. Scout, with his boundless puppy energy, became a beacon of hope for everyone. His playful antics brought laughter to the hospital. Even as the staff braced for Bella's surgery, Emily often found solace watching Scout nuzzle against Bella, his presence a reminder of the bond that had kept them alive during their darkest moments. One evening, as Emily sat with Bella in the hospital garden, she reflected on everything they had endured. "You've been so brave," she whispered, stroking Bella's soft fur. "No matter what happens, you'll always be my hero." Bella leaned into her touch, her soulful eyes meeting Emily's as if to say she understood. In that moment, Emily knew she had made the right decision. She would adopt Bella and Scout permanently, giving them the stable, loving home they deserved. The morning of Bella's surgery dawned clear and crisp. The hospital was unusually quiet as Emily walked Bella to the operating room, Scout trailing close behind. Though she tried to mask her nerves, her hands trembled as she handed Bella's leash to Dr. Harper. "She's in good hands," Dr. Harper reassured her, his tone steady. "We'll do everything we can." Emily nodded, her throat too tight to speak. She watched as Bella was led into the sterile room, her tail wagging faintly despite the tension in the air. Scout, sensing Emily's unease, pressed himself against her leg. She knelt to hug him, finding comfort in his warm, wiggling form. "It's gonna be okay," she whispered, more for herself than for him. The surgery stretched on for hours, each passing minute amplifying Emily's anxiety. She paced the waiting area, her mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The other staff members tried to distract her with small talk and updates about Scout, but nothing could ease the knot in her stomach. Finally, Dr. Harper emerged, his scrub stained and his expression weary. Hill's heart skipped a beat as she rushed to meet him. "She's stable," he said a tired smile breaking across his face. The surgery was a success. Relief flooded Emily's body and she sagged against the wall. "Thank you." She managed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "She'll need time to recover," Dr. Harper continued. "But if all goes well, she should regain full mobility over the next few weeks." Bella's recovery became the hospital's collective mission. Her bravery during the healing process inspired everyone who crossed her path. Though she occasionally winced with pain, her spirit never wavered. Scout, ever the devoted companion, rarely left her side, curling up beside her bed and licking her nose whenever she whimpered. Emily, too, found herself transformed by the experience. She had always been passionate about her work, but Bella and Scout had reignited a deeper sense of purpose. Their resilience reminded her why she had chosen this path in the first place, to be a voice for the voiceless and a protector of the vulnerable. As Bella grew stronger, Emily finalized the adoption paperwork. The process, though straightforward, felt momentous. She had fought so hard for Belle and Scout, and now they were officially hers. The thought filled her with a mixture of joy and responsibility. On the day the adoption was finalized, the hospital staff gathered for a small celebration. Balloons and banners adorned the break room, and a cake shaped like a paw print took center stage. Emily, Bella, and Scout were the guests of honor. "You've been through so much," one of the nurses said, raising a toast, "and you've come out stronger. Bella and Scout are lucky to have you." Emily. "No," Emily replied, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm the lucky one. They've taught me more about resilience and love than I ever thought possible." As life at the hospital returned to its usual rhythm, Emily began to think about the broader impact of Bella's story. The outpouring of support during the legal battle and surgery had shown her just how much people cared. She wanted to channel that energy into something meaningful with the hospital's backing. Emily launched a community outreach program focused on animal rescue and rehabilitation. The program, named Bella's Brigade, aimed to provide resources and support for animals in need, as well as educate the public about responsible pet ownership. Bella and Scout became the faces of the campaign, their story touching hearts far and wide. Donations poured in, enabling the hospital to expand its animal care facilities and sponsor local rescue efforts, despite the challenges they had faced. Emily felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Bella and Scout were thriving, their bond with Emily growing stronger each day. The hospital, too, had become a hub of compassion, its staff united by a shared purpose. As Emily watched Bella chase Scout through the hospital garden one sunny afternoon, she marveled at how far they had come. The scars of their past would always be there, but they no longer defined them together. They had found a new beginning, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of brighter days ahead. The day had finally come for Bella and Scout to leave the hospital and step into their new lives with Emily. The hospital garden, where so many pivotal moments had unfolded, was the perfect setting for their farewell. Staff members gathered to bid them goodbye, their faces alight with joy and pride. Bella, now walking confidently, despite a faint limp, wore a bright red bandana around her neck a symbol of her resilience. Scout, as playful as ever, darted around the garden, his excitement palpable. Emily watched them with a mixture of awe and gratitude. They were a testament to the power of hope and love, and their journey had touched so many lives. As the celebration wound down, Emily knelt beside Bella and Scout, her hands gently resting on their heads. "This is the beginning of something beautiful," she said softly. Bella wagged her tail, and Scout licked her cheek as if to agree. But before they could leave, a nurse approached Emily with a small envelope. "This came in the mail for you," she said, handing it over. The envelope bore no return address, and Emily's curiosity was piqued. She opened it carefully, revealing a handwritten letter inside. Was a heartfelt message from one of the families who had been inspired by Bella and Scout's story. "Your bravery in fighting for Bella and Scout has given us the courage to adopt a rescue dog of our own," it read. "Thank you for showing us what love and compassion can achieve." Emily's eyes filled with tears as she read the letter aloud. The staff erupted into cheers, their claps echoing through the garden. Bella barked joyfully, her spirit undimmed by the trials she had faced on their drive home. Emily reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment: the burning forest, the desperate legal battle, the life-saving surgery. It all felt like a lifetime ago. Yet those challenges had forged an unbreakable bond between her, Bella, and Scout. Arriving at her house, Emily opened the car door, and Scout leapt out, eagerly sniffing the air. Bella followed more cautiously, her gaze sweeping over the unfamiliar surroundings. Emily knelt to reassure her, stroking her fur. "This is your home now," she said gently. "You're safe here." Over the following weeks, Bella and Scout adjusted to their new life with surprising ease. Emily transformed her backyard into a haven for them, complete with a cozy doghouse, a shaded area for lounging, and plenty of toys. Scout, true to his nature, turned every moment into a game, while Bella found joy in quiet moments of companionship. Emily's outreach program, Bella's brigade gained momentum. Families from all over the community reached out to share their stories of rescue and redemption. Some had found inspiration in Bella's bravery, while others were motivated by Scout's unyielding loyalty together. Their story became a rallying cry for change. But the ultimate test of Bella's transformation came one sunny afternoon during a community event hosted by Bella's brigade. The event featured rescue organizations, adoption drives, and educational workshops. Bella and Scout were the stars of the day, drawing a steady stream of admirers as Bella sat beside Emily. Her calm demeanor a testament to her newfound confidence, a little girl approached cautiously. She held out her hand, her eyes wide with wonder. Bella leaned forward, sniffing the girl's hand before giving it a gentle lick. The girl giggled, her shyness melting away. "That's Bella," Emily said with a smile. "She's a hero." The girl looked up at Emily, her voice small but certain. "I want to be a hero too." The moment struck Emily deeply. Bella's journey wasn't just about survival. It was about inspiring others to find their own strength and compassion. As the event wound down, Emily stood before the crowd to thank them for their support. Bella and Scout's story is proof that love can overcome even the greatest challenges. She said, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "They've taught me that every life matters and that kindness has the power to transform the world. I hope their story inspires you as much as it has inspired me." The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers ringing through the park. Bella barked, her tail wagging furiously, and Scout joined in his enthusiasm. Infectious that night as Emily sat on her porch with Bella and Scout curled up beside her. She gazed at the stars. The journey they had shared was far from over, but in that moment, she felt a profound sense of peace. They had faced the fire, both literal and metaphorical, and emerged stronger. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice carrying into the night. Whether the words were meant for Bella, Scout, or the universe, she wasn't sure, but she knew one thing for certain. Their story was just beginning. The journey of Bella and Scout had been one of profound transformation. Not just for the dogs, but for everyone they touched. Emily often found herself reflecting on the events that had brought them together. The burning forest, the terrifying rescue, the hard-fought battle to save Bella, and the moments of quiet healing that followed their story was a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, love and resilience could prevail. As Bella and Scout settled into their new lives, Emily became more aware of the ripple effect their journey had created. Strangers would approach her on the street to share how Bella's courage had inspired them to take action in their own lives, whether it was adopting a rescue dog, volunteering at a shelter, or simply practicing more kindness in their daily interactions. The quiet, unassuming Bella had become a symbol of hope, her story resonating far beyond the small town where it all began. Emily's organization, Bella's Gade, grew into a powerful force for change. They hosted educational workshops, partnered with local shelters to increase adoptions, and raised funds to provide life-saving medical care for injured and abandoned animals. Bella and Scout became the faces of the campaign. Their story featured in articles, news segments, and community events, but it wasn't just about the publicity. It was about creating a lasting impact. Emily's goal was to ensure that no animal ever had to face the kind of peril, and Scout had endured every time she saw Bella lying peacefully on her favorite rug, or Scout playing with children at an event. She was reminded of why she had fought so hard one evening. As Emily prepared for another event, she noticed Bella sitting by the window, gazing out at the darkening sky. It was a familiar posture, one that spoke of quiet contemplation. Emily knelt beside her, resting a hand on her head. "You've come so far," she murmured. "And because of you, so many others will get a second chance." Bella turned her head, her eyes meeting Emily's with a warmth that needed no words. It was a bond forged in fire and tempered by love, a connection that had changed both their lives forever. As the weeks turned into months, Emily began to dream bigger. She envisioned expanding Bella's brigade to reach communities across the country, building a network of shelters, rescue teams, and advocates united by a shared purpose. The support from her town gave her confidence. But the real inspiration came from Bella and Scout. Their resilience reminded her that even the smallest spark of hope could ignite a movement. One day during a planning session for a national campaign, Emily received a surprise visitor. A woman named Grace had traveled hours to meet Bella and Scout in person, clutching a photo of her recently adopted rescue dog. Grace explained how their story had inspired her to take a leap of faith. "I was afraid I couldn't handle a rescue dog." Grace admitted tears brimming in her eyes. "But when I saw what Bella and Scout went through and how they overcame it, I knew I had to try. They gave me the courage to save a life." Emily's heart swelled with pride as she watched Grace kneel to hug Bella. And Scout, moments like these made every challenge, every sleepless night, and every heartbreak worth it. Bella and Scout weren't just survivors, they were beacons of hope as the day of their national campaign launch approached. Emily stood before a packed auditorium, Bella and Scout by her side. The energy in the room was electric, a mix of anticipation and determination. Taking a deep breath, Emily began. Her speech, "Bella and Scout's story, is not just about survival. It's about the power of compassion, the strength of community, and the belief that every life matters. They've taught me that even in our darkest moments, we can find light." If we open our hearts, the audience erupted into applause, their cheers a testament to the impact Bella and Scout had made. Emily glanced down at the two dogs, their tails wagging as if they understood the significance of the moment. If Bella and Scout's journey has inspired you, we invite you to join us in making a difference, whether it's by adopting a rescue animal, volunteering at a shelter, or simply spreading awareness. Every action matters together. We can create a world where no animal is left behind and every life is given the chance it deserves. Subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming stories of resilience and hope. And don't forget to share this video with friends and family. Your support helps us continue this vital work, one life at a time. Let's keep the flame of compassion burning brightly, because together we can make miracles happen. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.